This is a story about a wedding, a dry piece of bread, and a family secret so poisonous it brought an empire to its knees. I'm Iris, and what happened to my sister's wedding wasn't just drama. It was an earthquake. I was 38, a photographer living quietly in Brooklyn, the kind who saw beauty in wrinkled hands and worn-out sneakers, not glitzy fashion shoots. For years, I'd been the other daughter, the shadow to my sister Delaney's spotlight. While she twirled in ballet recitals and posed for pageant photos, I watched from the wings, often forgotten. My mother, Evelyn, always said, Delaney was born to shine. Iris, you're more of a shadow. Necessary, but best when quiet. Even as a child, I understood what that meant. On my 10th birthday, I waited for a party that never came because Evelyn had taken Delaney to a modeling audition. On my high school graduation day, my parents were at Delaney's magazine shoot. Their absence wasn't loud or angry. It was polite, intentional, and chillingly consistent. Reginald, my father, was a man of few words, more comfortable with investor calls than his daughters. Delaney, for her part, wasn't cruel in the childish sense. She simply ignored me, as if I existed in a parallel universe, too insignificant to affect her own. The only photos I had of us were from early childhood, before she learned she could command the center of attention without sharing the frame. The invitation to Delaney's wedding arrived in a thick, impossibly elegant envelope. Ms. Iris Whitmore. It read, "No warm D, sister." It was a silent reminder. You're not really part of this family, but your absence would be inconvenient. My mother's call followed swiftly, a clipped reminder to dress appropriately this time, not like a gallery opening. I remember telling her, you don't have to worry, I'll blend right in with the wallpaper. Evelyn didn't laugh. She never did. It's sarcasm that didn't serve her. Then Delaney messaged me. Hey sis, so excited you're coming. Quick favor, would you mind snapping a few pics? Nothing fancy, just candid moments. You know, you've got the best eye, and we figured since you're family, it'd be super meaningful. And free, of course. Ha ha. My fingers hovered. The word free echoed in my head. I knew what would happen if I declined. A tirade from Evelyn about selfishness, about how I never did anything for my sister. So I replied, I appreciate the thought, but I'd like to attend as a guest this time. Delaney never responded. That same evening, my phone rang again. It was the Clarion Gallery. My work, my Portraits of Solitude series, had been selected for their spring showcase. Sylvia Renea herself loved it. My eye was unflinching. I called my mother, shaking with excitement. Hi, Mom, I just wanted to share something. I got accepted into Clarion's spring show. Sylvia Renea herself chose my work. There was a pause, just long enough to leave a bruise. That's nice, Iris. Listen, I'm in the middle of finalizing some seating plans for the wedding. Can we talk later? The line went dead. A golden wedding, a golden opportunity. 2 invitations. One handwritten in art and effort, the other mass-printed and sealed in silence. I knew which one mattered more. The Baystone Grand gleamed beneath the pale winter sky. I stepped out of the hired town car, my emerald green dress, modest and elegant, brushing against my calves. Inside, the lobby buzzed with layers of wealth, a symphony of polite laughter and clinking glasses. A young woman led me down a narrow corridor, past the glittering ballroom, and toward a far corner near the emergency exit. Here you are, she said, gesturing to a round table set for one. A single name card. A single, dry piece of bread. No butter, no garnish, no explanation. Evelyn, gliding toward me in silver satin and pearls, offered a smile that never touched her eyes. Darling, she purred, so glad you could make it. You look comfortable. Then, leaning in, her voice dropped to a poisonous whisper. I see you found your place. With your career in freelance photography, I imagine this meal is rather appropriate. Simple, humble. Her hand gestured to the bread. This is what you're used to, isn't it? My jaw tightened, but my face stayed still. A few minutes later, Delaney, a vision in custom satin and lace, floated toward me. Hello, big sister, she cooed, her lips curling delicately. You made it. She glanced at the bread, then at me. Your dress, charming. Very minimalist. You know, she added, her voice dropping. I always admired how you managed to make everything look so affordable. It's a gift. You make even the most ordinary things look cheaper. I said nothing. Instead, I reached into my small handbag and slowly pulled out a small black USB stick. I didn't raise it in defiance, didn't wave it like a threat. I simply placed it in my lap, my thumb resting lightly on its smooth surface. Delaney's smile faltered for the briefest second. Well, she said, her voice tightening, enjoy the evening. I nodded. By the way, if you're still with me, make sure to hit subscribe. More unbelievable stories are coming. The coldness of that bread settled deep within me. My fingers curled around the USB. The decision had been days in the making. It started 3 weeks earlier, at Delaney and Jasper's engagement party. Delaney had asked me to bring my camera, just for candid shots to make Mom happy. I stayed in the corners, invisible, capturing blurred moments. Towards the end of the evening, I found Delaney alone near the bar, her phone lit up. As she turned, my lens caught a single line on her screen before it disappeared. Tonight, one last time. My bed, not Jasper's. It was jarring, reckless. I followed her discreetly to the underground parking garage. Soon, a black SUV pulled up. The driver stepped out, Cole Maddox, one of Jasper's business contacts. Delaney walked straight into his arms. There was no hesitation. The kiss was slow, deep, familiar. Not the thrill of a new affair, but something older, worn in. My hand moved instinctively to my camera. I switched to video mode and pressed record. I never showed anyone that footage. I told no one. For days, I convinced myself it wasn't my place. Maybe Delaney had her reasons. Maybe it wasn't my job to ruin a wedding. I kept the clip on a backup drive, unnamed, buried deep. Until today. Until I arrived at my sister's wedding in a carefully chosen dress, only to be seated like a stranger near an exit. Until my own mother dismissed me with a smile, as if she hadn't raised me. Until my sister, wrapped in white lace and self-importance, stood over me with the audacity to insult me to my face. Until the dry bread. That was when I knew. This wasn't vengeance. It wasn't rage. It was clarity. Years of being diminished, erased, laughed at. I didn't want to fight. I wanted a reckoning. The orchestra finished its prelude. Jasper stood, raising his glass. To family, his father, Douglas Langston, declared. To the joining of two legacies. Then the MC called my name. Delaney's smile faltered. Evelyn stiffened. I stood calmly, my dress catching the soft light. I appreciate the opportunity. I began, my voice clear and even. But I won't be offering a toast tonight. I came with something else. Something more honest. Something overdue. I held up the small black USB drive and handed it to the technician. I'd like to share a video, I said simply. Please play it. The lights dimmed. The screen descended. The first scene flickered to life. Delaney, alone in the parking garage, her phone glowing. The message, blown up on the screen. Tonight, one last time, my bed, not Jasper's. Gasps scattered through the room. Then came the grainy footage, Delaney and a man, wrapped in each other's arms, stepping into her car. Jasper sat unmoving, his knuckles white. The scene shifted. This time, audio played. Evelyn's voice echoed, precise and chilling. I've already moved the house, the vineyard property, and the shares into your name. Reginald has no idea. Then Delaney's bitter chuckle. After the wedding, everything's mine. You can retire, Mom. I'll take it from here. From the shadows, my father, Reginald, rose slowly, his eyes locked on the screen. The ballroom went completely silent. Turn it off now. Delaney screamed, her voice cracking. That's private. This is doctored. This is slander. But the video played on. Evelyn's laughter, a sound of greed disguised as maternal pride, joined Delaney's. Then, before the screen faded, a final voice. That's enough. It wasn't from the speakers. Cole Maddox, impeccably dressed, stepped forward from a side entrance. I was invited to the engagement party, he said. I didn't know I was part of a game. She said it was one last night, nothing more. But it became clear I was just another tool. A man used to hurt another. I had a feeling she'd twist the story, so I recorded our conversations. I have everything. Every message, every plan. Delaney shook her head furiously. Is lying. Is obsessed with me. Cole looked at her for the first time. Delaney, I loved you once, briefly. But what you did to your sister, your father, your fiancé. He turned to Jasper. You deserve the truth, not a performance. The screen went black. The lights returned. The ballroom remained silent. Jasper, unmoving for a moment, slowly reached for his left hand. He removed the platinum band he had placed on his finger not 2 hours ago. Holding it between his thumb and forefinger, he stared at it. I loved a lie in a white dress, he said quietly. His voice, though not raised, rang out like a final bell. He placed the ring gently on the table and turned to his parents. Douglas Langston, his face grim, addressed Evelyn. This marriage was not just a personal union. It was a business alignment, one we considered sacred. But deceit is not a value we do business with. As of this moment, the Langston Group withdraws from all pending and proposed partnerships with Whitmore Holdings. Effective immediately, any outstanding negotiations are null. The words hit harder than anything I had shown. The Whitmore name would fall, financially and socially, and fast. Delaney collapsed, her face buried in her hands. Jasper, without a word, walked away, his mother quietly following. Then Evelyn broke. This is your fault, she screamed, pointing a trembling finger at me. You orchestrated this circus. You ruined my daughter's wedding. You destroyed everything we built. But the crowd wasn't listening anymore. Guests began to rise, murmuring like a wind through trees. She deserves better, one woman whispered. No wonder Iris never came to the holidays, a man muttered. No one looked at Evelyn. Sit down, she barked. This isn't over. Do you know who we are? We are the Whitmores. No one answered. The orchestra had stopped playing. The only sound was the rustle of dresses, the scrape of chairs, the slow echoing footsteps of guests who had seen enough. I stood still, my hands calmly at my sides. I didn't feel victorious. I felt unburdened. From the far end of the room, my father remained seated, his tie loosened, his eyes unfocused. As the ballroom emptied, he finally turned to look at me. Our eyes met. He didn't speak, just a long, unreadable stare from a father who had just realized he built his family legacy on sand. And I, though I said nothing either, knew one thing clearly. The fall had begun. The ballroom emptied, leaving only the scent of white roses and regret. I remained near the stage, my dress wrinkled, my face composed. I hadn't noticed the woman in the dark burgundy coat until her voice, soft but firm, called my name. Iris Harrison. I turned. It was Sylvia Renea, the gallery owner. I wasn't invited, she said with a wry smile. But someone close to me was. Word travels fast in art circles, especially when chaos is dressed in silk and scandal. I lowered my eyes. That wasn't supposed to be art. Sylvia's voice was quiet, but carried the kind of certainty that made people stop walking. It was, whether you meant it or not. It was art. Raw, painful, the kind of truth you can't curate. You didn't just expose their lies. You exposed yourself, your pain, your strength. That takes more than talent. It takes conviction. 2 years ago, I said, you told me my work was too polished, too distant. I did, Sylvia said simply. And I was right. And now? I asked. Sylvia stepped forward. Now I'm looking at a woman who no longer hides behind composition and technique. I saw truth on that screen, and I want to show it to the world. If you're willing, I want to curate a solo exhibition. You're first. A full collection. We'll call it, Behind the Curtain, Portraits of Truth. Not just the wedding. Everything. The absence in your childhood. The invisibility in your family. The reclamation of your voice. A door had opened in the middle of the ashes. You're serious, I said softly. Sylvia met my eyes. I don't waste time chasing flukes. What you showed today wasn't a moment. It was a culmination, and it deserves a stage. The Whitmore name became a cautionary tale. Evelyn, once queen of charity luncheons, found herself without a single invitation. Her name was discreetly erased from boards, her calls unreturned. The video of her gleeful cruelty, talking about me as if I were a stain, was everywhere. Reginald faced a different kind of blow. 3 major real estate contracts were suddenly withdrawn. His empire crumbled. Delaney's fall was sharper. Jasper not only ended the engagement publicly but refused all contact. Sponsors dropped her. Modeling agencies ghosted her. Her agent refused to return calls. She still had her condo, her wardrobe, her designer heels. But then she checked her private savings account, the one she'd set up with Cole, the one meant to hold enough to start over. It was zero. Cole, it turned out, had played her all along. His number went straight to voicemail. His apartment was empty. Her empire, built on manipulation and beauty, had crumbled. There was no one left to pick up the pieces. The rain came in sheets that afternoon in Brooklyn. I was in my new studio, the air smelling of chemicals and coffee, a rhythm of peace I'd come to appreciate. There was a soft knock. When I opened the door, the air shifted. Delaney stood there, drenched. Her designer coat, soaked, hung off her frame like a weight she could no longer carry. She didn't speak at first. "I came," she said, her voice raw. I didn't know where else to go. I held the door, but didn't widen it. "Why now?" I asked, my voice steady. "Because I have nothing left to lie for." The sentence hung in the air, fragile and final. Her eyes weren't pleading. They were tired, stripped. "I'm not asking for anything," she added quickly. I need to work. I need something real. I can clean. You don't even have to look at me." I stepped back, just enough to let the possibility of entry exist. "You clean. You don't talk. You start from zero." Delaney nodded, as if she'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. I turned back inside, leaving the door ajar. Delaney followed, shedding her coat. I handed her a mop. "Start there." She took it without question, head down, water pooling near her feet. Forgiveness had not arrived. Not yet, perhaps not ever. But consequences had, and with them, the first faint shadow of change. My gallery buzzed with soft conversation. Portraits of truth had drawn a crowd. Each piece was carefully chosen, faces lined with time, hands folded in grief. No false lighting, just people as they were. Sylvia Renee approached me. "You've started something, Iris. Something honest, raw, needed." I nodded. People didn't just see me now, they saw through my lens. Near the center, Jasper Langston stood. "I didn't expect you," I said. "I know," he offered a small smile. "But I needed to say something. You saved me without knowing it." I don't think I ever truly loved Delaney. I love the idea of her. Watching your video, seeing the truth. It felt like being dragged out of a dream, and I woke up a freer man. He didn't linger. "Your work is powerful, Iris. I hope you never stop." Later, as the evening waned, I stepped near the glass entrance to breathe. That's when I saw her. Evelyn, standing beneath the awning across the street. No umbrella, no entourage. Her posture still proud, but her expression unreadable. She didn't wave, didn't approach. Just watched. We stood like that for a long minute. 2 women connected by blood, divided by everything else. The mother who never praised, and the daughter who no longer waited. I didn't call out. I simply reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the camera I always carried. With practiced hands, I adjusted the focus, capturing her image from behind glass and rain. Later, I added a small caption. Sometimes silence says enough. The girl who once sat alone at family dinners, handed a dry piece of bread, didn't just survive. She turned the shame into art, into truth, into liberation. I didn't need to scream or fight or beg for love. I simply showed the world what was real. And that, finally, was enough. If you made it to this point, then maybe like Iris, you believe that silence can be powerful, that truth doesn't need permission, and that sometimes the deepest betrayals can become the clearest mirrors. What would you have done in Iris's shoes? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.